Today I'm drawing legendary Super Saiyan Broly from the older Dragon Ball Z movies, right? Saint, not Saint. The recent Broly sketch I did before this was from Dragon Ball Super, from the way he's portrayed there, and not in his Saiyan form, obviously, right? And I forgot if in the prior series that was the movies that were based around the time frame of the Z series. I forget if Broly had appeared the same in those as well in his form before he was in his legendary Super Saiyan form, right? Um, so yes, today I'm drawing Broly from Dragon Ball, not Super. Or did he appear like that in Super as well? I forget. Like where he appeared in the Broly movie, because I didn't actually watch Super to actually know how he appeared in Super, if he did. Because I'm aware Super was a timeline after the Broly movie and also after the Z timeline, right? If that's actually the chronological order. Um, this, which is, that's a knowledge gap thing where I'd have to know that before I could say that for sure. If I'm trying to identify where he appeared like this, which is why I even blah 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 so much about that, right? um, the This is one of the most visually striking Dragon Ball transformations ever created. Not sure if that's absolutely true, but that's definitely the hook to pull you in. Is there people in the show built like Broly to an extent, or is Broly an iconic name enough that people would be aware of if they're aware of the series, or if they're aware of even anime that they don't even have to watch Dragon Ball Z? They probably heard there's even slang called referring to people as Brolic, right? Which is literally based off of their slang that it's called Brolic. It refers to people who probably gained a lot of muscle. So there's a bunch of phrases about referring to somebody who's gained muscle from working out and whatever. And one of them is called Broly, and it was based off of Broly from Dragon Ball Z. So it's an iconic enough name, right? That people would just know if they have some awareness of anime. The first thing I'm focusing on is the overall silhouette. Obviously, starting with the ear, well, excuse me, skeleton first, balls for joints. The What the idea of the musculature would be over the skeleton before actually building out anything. Start with you. What I do, not that what you have to do, is I start with the ear, and then I build up into some of the hair, and then some of the jawline, and some of the forehead, and then slowly build out structure first, to a certain distance, and make sure that's all proportioned in place where it needs to be, and then details on top of it, and then I slowly build out the rest of the drawing from there. That's how I usually do it. I'm also doing it in pen, so I only get one try to do it correct. So that's why I would adapt the strategy like that. Not that the ear, starting with the ear matters, but I found that it helped me get facial proportions correct, which is something that I needed to do a better job with. So I just try to tackle an area of the face first and then slowly build out from there. But by the time I'm building out into the rest of it, I've usually tackled more of the face and made sure it was in proportion first. Especially because the face is usually the focal point of most of the art that I'm drawing lately, where it's either mug shots or upper body shots usually, right? So it's important to get the face correct, because the face can help make sure everything is in proportion as well, and everything else is gonna appear the way it should as well, right? Um, strong silhouette. Strong silhouettes help make characters instantly recognizable. Right now, I'm blocking in the torso, shoulders, and major proportions. Before adding any details, I want a strong foundation. Now I'm building the chest and arm structure. Large muscle groups become easier to draw when they're simplified into basic forms. As I continue refining the anatomy, I'm checking balance and proportions. Um, the goal is creating character. The goal is creating a character that feels powerful and believable. Obviously, the being aware of how he appears in the official art or how he was portrayed, because they understood what they were doing when they were portraying him and all the other characters in the series, so that everyone would have a reference point to see how a character should appear. Then obviously you doing your own anatomy study with the structure, or skeleton underneath, and then drop. So you're from you trying to make it look like the official art, to you also doing your own anatomy structure to make sure that you're getting anatomy correct. All builds towards helping making it look believable, right? Next, moving into the face and expression. Gogeta's confident. Excuse me. Um, Broly's confidence is a major part of his design. Now I'm building the hair shape and refining the silhouette. His hair is one of the most recognizable features of the transportation. Obviously, um, I'm not having not colored it in, but he's like one of the few people who had green hair. Besides later on, there was a Khalifa, who had green hair as well, and then also his hair shape, um, especially when he's in Saiyan form, right? Even in his base form, his hair shape was he just has a different body structure and facial structure, that's identifiable as him. He doesn't look very. I was gonna say he doesn't look very much like anybody else. He doesn't. Maybe you could identify he's probably a Saiyan when you see him, because that's like there's a pattern with that, obviously. Even without him being in Super Saiyan form, but like yeah, he has his own thing going on with his appearance. Um, the goal is creating a character that feels powerful and believable. Next, I'm moving into the face and expression. Gogeta's confidence is a major part of his design. Now I'm building the hair shape and refining the silhouette. The hair is one of the most recognizable features of his transformation. As the sketch develops, I'm strengthening important forms and cleaning up rough construction lines. Every anatomy study helps improve structure and understanding. Looking at the finished piece, I'm happiest with the upper body anatomy and character presence. Um, Also, one thing I've been saying in recent videos is, and I'll try to, whenever there's room, I'll try to just add this in. But if anybody would like to discuss anime or just character, any anime or the relevant anime, whatever you want, just feel free to leave comments in the comment section. Um, Also, I noticed there's people who like to, if you wanted to suggest tips, um, I here's the thing, right? There's people when they say that they segue into it and they say something like, "Oh, like not to." They try to maybe I can't remember the specific wording to give an idea, but like they say something like they're not trying to knock my intelligence. And what I say to that is no, feel free to say anything. Like just leave a comment, just say I'll answer. And I don't take anything personal. We're all just um unless there's people who are absolutely perfect at art, there's people who are at such a high level that we can see these people do art and not and think that even if it isn't easy for them, because we understand how taxing it is to build up slowly and get to those levels, and who knows what it's like at those levels. It probably feels like there's things they can do easily, but they're having to be mindful of certain things, or maybe they just do it very, who knows, right? But even people on that level, they can still be building. And what happens is, you know maybe I could be aware of how to improve at something. Maybe I could try to pay attention to something as I'm trying to do it, to the point where I could maybe even do breakdowns and explain things in a way that can help people, which I've heard people say. But if people want to also leave tips, feel free to do that, and I'll discuss with you. There's people who've leave who've left tips, like they'd explain or give me suggestions on like maybe what I should do to improve certain things or what I could do to make it easier to draw. And I answer back and I tell them thank you for your input. And if I was aware of it, I'd I would agree with them, or it was never really a disagreement because I understand there's many ways to tackle art. So what happens is if I'm aware of a way, my whole thing is I understand that like I know there's different ways, but it's not like I might know a way that's even very turbulent for me. So it gives me turbulent results, and repeatedly giving me turbulent results over time. And then the cells in your body take time to adapt as you're doing something that causes you to adapt, right? Because you can just spend time doing something, and then you could also spend time doing something, and then couple that with on purpose try to implement things that will help you improve, regardless of what that is. And I'm aware that these things that you could do, they could take varying amounts of time. Some things could work better for some people than others. Some people like it might help them improve, but it works slower for them. Some people they need to go through a learning curve, and then it helps them improve faster. Who knows, right? But I'm aware that like there's not just one way to do it, and what happens is that I won't even sit here and say that's not the best way to do something because I'm aware that maybe I haven't tried it yet, but maybe I've heard about it. And if I haven't tried it or heard about it, then I actually need to go look that up. So I would just say I don't even know anything about it, but thank you for telling me, right? But if it's something that I've heard of before, I could have heard it, but it doesn't mean I know everything about it. I could have spent many years doing something and still not know everything about it. And I could spend many years doing something and seeing that it gave me great results, but it's not like I know other people who've done it for the same amount of time and saw what their results were. So there's other people who could have gotten faster results than me doing the same thing. There's people who could have gotten way slower results than me doing the same thing, right? So I'm aware that like this is a thing, and this applies to a lot of things in life. But especially if you're drawing something on paper with your hand, when you're drawing something on paper with your hand, there's a lot of so I could say, oh, everything has things that work, and you have to be open minded. I could say that about like everything, right? Quote unquote. But with art, you literally have to coordinate your hand moving and using certain levels of pressure and being extremely detail oriented until you can become better at literally whether you're looking at something or whether you're imagining something and then just draw it down on paper exactly what you're seeing, and your hand could accidentally wiggle a little bit and mess up the whole thing, especially if you're doing it in pen like me, which is you don't have to do, but then you can't even erase. So that what happens is drawing is such a sensitive thing that it's even more open to like having to be open-minded, like so like there's things that let's say you can figure out overall ideas that help you improve at things faster, which I wouldn't maybe get into detail with right now, but people could ask me and I could relay information, obviously. But let's say that there's things that apply better in certain fields, but what happens is with art, there's things that apply and work very well, but that can be very much based on a individual person. And it could also be based on like, even how they learn or whatever. So like what happens is like you actually have to be a bit more open-minded with art, because art is it's actually about creativity and making something out of nothing or whatever you want to call it. So there's way more wiggle room with how even strategies will get applied, right? So like, yeah, I'm open to anybody just sharing any information, and please do that for sure. As you saying that, other people can see the comments and it can benefit them as well. So like I very much appreciate you leaving comments saying that, and just know it's helping everybody. I'm even going and looking up to brush up on information if it's not something I already knew about. I might look further into it, because it's good to know the field that you're actually in, right? Because that only helps you. The next thing I want to improve is perspective and line confidence. And I'm just finishing up. But yeah, thank you for watching the sketch breakdown, and I'll see you in the next drawing video.